I want you to think about the person who smiled at your wedding, who held your hands and said, "Welcome to the family," who called you daughter and meant it, or so you thought. For 6 years, I believed my mother-in-law loved me. For 6 years, I thought the problems in my marriage were my fault. My insecurities, my shortcomings, my failures as a wife. It took one phone call, one single accidental phone call, to show me the truth. She had been destroying my marriage from the inside. Every single day for 6 years. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how the woman who called me daughter was actually my greatest enemy. I met Michael when I was 26 years old at a mutual friend's dinner party. He was warm and funny and kind in that quiet, genuine way that you cannot fake. We talked for 3 hours that night, and by the end of the evening, I knew something had shifted permanently inside me. We dated for 1 year. It was wonderful, easy, the kind of relationship that feels like coming home. Before we got engaged, Michael took me to meet his mother, Diane. Diane was a tall, elegant woman in her early 60s. Perfectly dressed, perfectly spoken. She welcomed me into her home with a warmth that felt completely genuine. She hugged me. She made my favorite food. Somehow she had found out from Michael what I liked. She showed me Michael's childhood photos and laughed with me about his terrible teenage haircut. By the end of that first evening, I adored her. I remember driving home thinking how lucky I was. How many women struggle with difficult mothers-in-law, and here I had found one who was warm and welcoming and genuinely seemed to love me already. I could not have been more wrong. We got married a year later. A beautiful ceremony with both families together. Diane gave a speech at the reception that made everyone cry. She talked about how Michael had always deserved someone extraordinary and how she knew the moment she met me that I was exactly that person. I cried the hardest of anyone fool. The first year of marriage was happy. Genuinely happy. Michael and I had a small apartment in the city. We had date nights and lazy Sunday mornings and the kind of comfortable intimacy that builds slowly between two people who genuinely like each other as well as love each other. Diane visited once a month. Always pleasant. Always bringing food and gifts. Always leaving with a warm hug and a lipstick kiss on my cheek. But somewhere in the second year, things began to shift. Small things at first. Michael started coming home from his weekly phone calls with Diane slightly quieter than before. Slightly more withdrawn. When I asked him what they had talked about, he would say nothing much and change the subject. He started criticizing small things about the house. The way I organized the kitchen. The fact that I sometimes left work items on the dining table. Things he had never mentioned before and had always seemed perfectly comfortable with. One evening, he said, almost casually, "My mother thinks you spend too much money on clothes." I was so surprised I did not know what to say. "I buy one thing for myself a month, Michael," I said. He shrugged. "I know. I am just saying what she said." I let it go. She was his mother. He was close to her. It was one comment, but it was not one comment. It was the beginning. Over the next 4 years, Diane poisoned my marriage. So slowly and so carefully that I never saw it happening. Every week she called Michael. Every week she planted something new. I pieced it all together later. Much later, from things Michael told me after the truth came out. But let me tell you what she was doing during those years. While I was confused and hurting and blaming myself. She told Michael I was selfish. That I prioritized my career over our family. That a woman who worked as many hours as I did clearly did not value her home. She told him I was cold. That I did not show him enough affection. That he deserved a wife who made him feel cherished every single day. She told him my family was difficult. That my parents, honest, hardworking people, who had given me everything they had, were hard to get along with and created unnecessary stress. She told him I was materialistic. That I spent money recklessly. That I had expensive tastes that would eventually cause serious financial problems. She told him I was not ready for children. That whenever the topic came up with her, I apparently showed a lack of enthusiasm that suggested I did not truly want a family. Every single thing she told him was a lie. A calculated, deliberate lie designed to make him see me through her distorted lens. And it worked. Slowly, Michael began to see me differently. Not dramatically, not all at once, but like a painting that someone keeps adding small gray brush strokes to until eventually the original colors are completely buried. He became more critical, more distant, more easily frustrated with me. I went to therapy. I read books about marriage. I tried harder in every area of our relationship. I apologized for things I had not done wrong because I genuinely believed the problem was me. And every time I struggled, Diane was there, sympathetic, supportive, holding my hand and saying, "Marriage is hard, darling. You just need to keep trying," while she went home and picked up the phone. The phone call happened on a Thursday evening in March. Michael had gone to the gym. I was in the kitchen cooking dinner. My phone was on the counter and I accidentally knocked it as I reached for a pan. It dialed Diane's number. I did not realize immediately. I was focused on the stove. By the time I noticed the call had connected, Diane was already speaking. She was not speaking to me. She was on another call. Her phone must have connected while she was mid-conversation with someone else. A three-way accidental connection. I heard her voice clearly through my phone speaker. She was speaking to her sister, Diane's sister Linda, who I had met twice at family gatherings. And what she was saying stopped me completely still. "He is finally starting to see what I have been telling him," Diane was saying. "6 years, Linda. 6 years I have been working on this. He mentioned divorce last week for the first time." I stood completely frozen at my stove. "You really think he will leave her?" Linda's voice. "He will," Diane said confidently. "She is not right for him. She was never right for him. She is too independent, too focused on her own career. Michael needs someone who will put him first. Put the family first. Sarah will never be that person." "But they seem happy, Diane." "They are not happy," Diane cut her off firmly. "I have made sure of that. Every week I remind him of her flaws. Every week I show him what he is missing. He is almost there, Linda. Another few months and this marriage will be over and Michael can start again properly. With the right person." "Does he know you are doing this?" A pause. "Of course not," Diane said. "He thinks these are his own thoughts. That is the whole point." I put the phone down on the counter very carefully. The food on the stove was burning. I turned off the gas, and I sat down on the kitchen floor for the second time in my life, because my legs had stopped working. I sat on that kitchen floor for a long time. I went through every emotion in a very short period. Shock first, then a grief so profound it almost took my breath away. Not just for my marriage, but for the years I had spent believing I was failing. For every therapy session where I had searched myself for flaws that were never there. For every apology I had given for things I had never done. Then something else. Something cold and clear and absolutely certain. I was not going to fall apart. I had spent 6 years being slowly dismantled by a woman who smiled at my face and worked against me the moment I turned around. I was not going to give her what she wanted, but I was also not going to pretend I had not heard what I heard. I made 3 decisions in that kitchen. First, and I was going to tell Michael everything. Not in anger, not as an attack on his mother, but calmly and with evidence. Second, I was going to save the recording. My phone had recorded the accidental call automatically in my call log. I was going to make absolutely sure I had that recording saved in multiple places before I did anything else. Third, I was going to give Michael a choice. A real choice. With full information. And I was going to accept whatever he decided. But he was going to make that choice with his eyes open. Not with the eyes Diane had spent 6 years designing for him. Michael came home from the gym at 8:00 to find me sitting at the kitchen table with my phone in front of me and dinner, still uncooked on the counter. He knew immediately something was wrong. "Sarah, what happened?" "Sit down, Michael," I said. "I need you to listen to something." I played him the recording. I watched his face as he heard his mother's voice. As he heard her say she had been working on this for 6 years. As he heard her say he was almost there. As he heard her say these were his own thoughts. That was the whole point. The color drained from his face completely. When the recording ended, the kitchen was completely silent. "Michael," I said quietly, "I need you to think back over the last 4 years. Every critical thing you started to feel about me. Every doubt. Every distance. I need you to ask yourself, where did those thoughts first come from?" He said nothing for a very long time. Then he put his face in his hands. "The kitchen organization?" he said slowly, almost to himself. "She mentioned it first. She said it showed a lack of care for the home." "Yes. The spending," he said. "She brought it up on a call and I started noticing it after that." "Yes. The children conversation." His voice broke slightly. "She told me you had said something to her. That you had told her privately you were not sure you wanted children. I confronted you about it and you were so confused and hurt and I thought, I never said that to her, Michael," I said. "I have never once told her anything like that. I want children. You know I want children. He looked up at me. His eyes were red. I know, he said. I know that. I do not know why I believed her. I do not know why I kept believing her. Because she is your mother, I said, and she was very careful. And she did it so slowly that you never saw it happening. He started crying then. This man who I had not seen cry in 6 years of marriage sat at our kitchen table and wept. And I sat across from him and let him. 3 days later, Michael called his mother and asked her to come over. He did not tell her why. Diane arrived at our apartment at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning looking her usual polished self. She kissed Michael on the cheek. She smiled at me warmly. Sarah, you look lovely, darling. Is everything all right? Michael sounded strange on the phone. Sit down, Mom, Michael said. Something in his voice made her look at him more carefully. She sat. Michael placed his phone on the table between them and pressed play. I watched Diane's face as she heard herself. Unlike Michael, she did not go pale. She went very still, the way a person goes still when they are calculating rapidly. When the recording ended, she looked up. That is taken completely out of context, she said. Her voice was steady. Linda and I were having a private conversation about our concerns for your marriage. Every mother worries about her son. Everything I have ever done has been out of love for you, Michael. You said you had been working on this for 6 years, Michael said. You said you made sure we were not happy. You said these were my own thoughts, and that was the whole point. I was speaking emotionally. You know how Linda and I talk. We exaggerate. Mom, Michael's voice was very quiet. Stop. Diane stopped. I have been thinking for 4 days, Michael said. I have been going back through 6 years of our marriage and finding you in every moment where things went wrong. Every doubt I had about Sarah came from a conversation with you. Every criticism, every distance. It was all you. Diane's composure cracked slightly, just slightly. I did what I thought was best. You lied to me, Michael said. For 6 years you lied to me about my wife. You tried to end my marriage, my happy marriage, because she did not meet some standard in your head. She is not right for you? She is my wife, Michael said. She is the woman I chose, and you spent 6 years trying to take that from me. Silence. I need you to leave now, Michael said. And I need you to understand that things between us are going to be very different going forward. Diane stood up slowly. She looked at me once, just once, and then she left. The months that followed were the hardest and the most honest of our marriage. Michael and I went to couples therapy together, not because our marriage was broken, but because we both understood that 6 years of slow poison needed to be carefully and properly cleaned out. Every doubt he had been fed, every distance that had grown between us. We examined all of it together with a professional and we dismantled it piece by piece. It was painful, and it was necessary, and it made us stronger than we had ever been. Michael set clear boundaries with Diane. She was not permitted to call him daily. Conversations about our marriage or about me were completely off limits. Any visit to our home required advance notice and my comfort with it. Diane resisted at first, then she tried guilt. Then she tried going through other family members to reach Michael. None of it worked. Michael held his boundaries with a steadiness that honestly made me love him more than I ever had. 6 months after the phone call, Diane called me directly. It was the first time she had called me personally in years. She apologized, a formal, careful apology that felt more legal than genuine. I listened to every word. Then I said, "Thank you for calling, Diane." And I ended the call. I did not need her apology. I did not need her acknowledgement or her remorse or her explanation. I had my marriage back. I had my husband back. I had my own mind back, free from 6 years of wondering what was wrong with me. That was enough. Michael and I celebrated our 8th wedding anniversary last month. We went back to the restaurant where we had our first date. We sat at the same table by the window and ordered the same food and talked for 3 hours the way we had on that very first night. We have a daughter now, 18 months old, with her father's warm brown eyes and her grandmother's, my mother's, stubborn, determined chin. We named her Emma. Diane has met Emma twice. Supervised visits with both Michael and I present. She is careful now, measured. The performance of warmth she puts on is more transparent to me than it has ever been, but I let her have it for Emma's sake. Some battles are not worth fighting forever. Some people you simply keep at a carefully managed distance and get on with your life. I think about those 6 years sometimes. The therapy sessions where I searched myself for the flaws Diane had invented. The apologies I gave for things I never did. The distance I felt from my husband and the loneliness of not understanding why. And then I think about that accidental phone call. One moment of carelessness on her part. 6 years of careful cruelty undone in 4 minutes of audio. If there is one thing I want you to take from my story, it is this. If something feels wrong in your relationship and you cannot find the reason inside yourself or inside your partner, look at who is speaking into your partner's ear. Because sometimes the enemy is not in the room with you. Sometimes the enemy is on the other end of the phone. Thank you so much for staying with me through Sarah's story today. If this story opened your eyes or touched your heart in any way, please give it a like and subscribe to Drama Hub Stories. We bring you a powerful new story every single day. And I want to know in the comments, have you ever had a family member secretly interfere in your relationship? How did you handle it? Drop your answer below. I read every single one. See you in the next story.